Hey, everybody. I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Things Live. And to start this discussion off, I was going to talk about technology. And I was thinking about it. And back in the day, my father's childhood and grandparents, young adulthood, they had radio. And that's what they listened to. They would listen to stories and stuff, and we've all heard of, I think it was War of the Worlds that happened on the radio and scared a bunch of people and stuff. And then they came out with black and white television, and that was just a cut and dried improvement. There was nothing bad about that. There was no gray area there. It was just a straight up improvement. Lake, hey Lake, how's it going, buddy? Glad to see you here. Aaron, catastrophic temporal anomaly, reverse flash, event. Yeah. Jedi Order 66, multiple timelines, Metal Gear Punisher. What's up, Alex K? Vintage, there you are. Good morning, Vintage. Big Country. Hey, buddy. Glad to see y'all here. Brad, there he is. Brad's in the house. What's up, buddy? Glad you can make it, man. But I was just talking about technology and how it earlier, when early technologies improved, it was just cut and dried improvement. When they went from black and white TV to color TV, that was an improvement, right? There was no downside to color TV. It was better all the way around. And when they first invented the telephone and they first got telephones and they improved the telephone a couple of times there, it was just better. It was better. And it was, it was, there was no gray area. There was no downside to the technology. Nowadays, though, we've got these downsides to all this stuff. And it's not just about net. Aaron, what the hell, dude? All right. Not sure what any of that means. But Dead Wolf, there he is. But nowadays, when we have advancements in technology, like, cellular phones and cellular technology, there are downsides to that, right? We get it causes accidents, probably as many accidents now as drinking and driving, that kind of stuff. We've got technology advancement in pharmaceuticals, and we know where all that shit went back in 2020 and all that lab shit. And in the food industry, with all the Monsanto and the Roundup and all this other shit, these fillers and preservatives they put in the food now, and all this stuff. And there's a lot of downside to a lot of our new technologies now. AI is another example of that. Yeah, it's great and it's convenient, but there are downsides to it too. People are just going to become friends with this AI, right? With your AI companion, and they're going to lose complete connection with other people. Yeah. Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's a tool, and I think that some, if not a lot, of people are confused about AI. They're confused about AI. They think that AI is just AI, and there are a lot of different kinds of AI. You know what I mean? From little tiny, basic stuff in your microwave, and then to fully autonomous cars and large language models that can pretend to be human and talk to you, to just there are all kinds of different versions of AI that do different things. And the the main problem with that is, well, with the large language models is their influence that they can have on people, because people just tend to use it like Google, right? And that it's the same thing to be said for Google. You Google something and you expect the truth, an honest answer in response. You expect facts. And a lot of times what you get are sorted and selected versions of what happened. Okay, one side of the story, not just the truth, the facts of the story, but a version of the story that's skewed. And that'll be the problem with AI, with these large language models anyway, that you'll ask it for basic facts, or you'll ask it a question and it will give you an answer that is skewed to give you to try to manipulate us into thinking a certain way, or to to change our idea of what happened at a certain incident or whatever, our history, anything. They can just go in and change this stuff and tell us just flat out lies or perversions of the truth at the very least dangerous, I guess. Yeah, only trust what you know is true. That's right, Brad. Because it's just, they're programmed. These AIs are programmed, and there's so much manipulation. What really blew my mind was when I heard that Amazon goes inside people's Kindles now and just edits the books after they've already bought them, or not bought them, rented them from Amazon. You don't buy those books. You don't own them. They just take them back, and they can go in and manipulate the information in there and manipulate the storyline or whatever they want. They can go in there and edit that book anytime they want. Just reach into your Kindle and edit that shit. That blows my mind. So, or blew my mind when I first was introduced to that idea that they were doing that. And but that will just tell you that these companies will do just about anything to manipulate you and to skew the truth and do these. The main question of that is why? Why would they do? Why are they doing this shit? Well, who cares if if you're reading a book? Who cares what's in the book, right? Normal people don't care. I don't care what my neighbor's reading over there. I'm not gonna break into his house and scratch out some shit and write some different shit in his book. I don't care. So why do they care? That's the thing that really blows my mind, but really, rattles around in my mind a lot. Why? The why of it. And the why, a lot of times, that question is the most meaningless question there is, right? Because the why of it doesn't matter. They're doing it. All right. That's what matters. That's what actually matters, is that they're doing it. And if you realize that, then that is the sum of it right there. But then if you think about it another way, why is the only question that does matter, because that is the root of it, the why of it. And if we could answer that question, then we'd know the actual truth. We would know what is really going on. And that's what we're all searching for, is the why. Why are they doing this? Are they doing it because they're lizard aliens? Is that why? Are they doing it because they're Anunnaki or whatever, So yeah, that's the real question, is why. And at the same time, it's the most meaningless one, because it doesn't change anything. The fact is they're doing it. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Dead Wolf. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. They've always been doing that. The winners write the history, you know? And then the winners after that rewrite the history. They take those history books, and if that tells a story they don't like, then they'll burn them or rewrite them or whatever. And that's with every book ever They translate them and they rewrite them and they edit them and or they destroy them or whatever. They are controlling information since the dawn of time, since, probably since we first started chipping letters into clay tablets. People have been trying to control information and control what we think. How did a physical Berenstain Bear book get rewritten? Vintage. I would say that if you wanted to rewrite a book, you would just destroy all the ones that were there and edit the type in the manuscript and crank out new ones to tell the story you wanted. And of course, there would be some old ones floating around, but yeah, that all that book burning and shit and that kind of stuff. Now, uh, more contemporary stuff like Berenstain Bears and all that, then now we're going into the Mandela effect, and I don't know if that has one thing to do with the other, but I was talking about history, like, when Rome took over Greece, when they just invaded Greece and took that shit from them. Okay, anything Rome didn't like, they outlawed, they burned, they destroyed, and made up their own history. So the history of Greece that we know is filtered through the Roman what that's what the Romans wanted us to know, like that. Okay, the Romans would take over a, a territory and they'd probably burn books, smash clay tablets, whatever, and and that's with every probably invading nation or whatever, because they want you to worship their gods. Now, the Romans supposedly were free with that. They didn't care what god you worshiped. Okay, they allowed religious freedom. But a lot of other nations, they weren't like that. They would force you to worship their god, so they would destroy all of your religious texts and rewrite them to fit into their religious narrative or whatever. So the real history that we gather from the written word is hard to trust as far as I'm concerned. Now, the history that we dig up out of the ground, in just factual artifacts and stuff, now we can suppose make suppositions from that stuff. But then still we're guessing. All we can say for sure is that, hey Mike, what's going on, buddy? Just saw you there. All we can say for sure is that, X civilization had clay pots at this certain time. Yeah, the flashpoint paradox, Lake. Yeah, that stuff is interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that some more and check that out. That stuff sounds really interesting, Lake. We're gonna have to talk about that. Yeah, Dead Wolf. If they're made physically I mean, who's to say we're not in a matrix or a 2D hologram or whatever, some kind of hologram or something? I don't know. The more they dig into stuff with science, the more just absurd the universe is. Everything is just fields now. They've come to realize the latest, iteration of science, that everything is just fields. There is no solid matter. You go down and you look at an electron, and it's just a field, a vibrating field. It's not even solid, but these electrons make up what we think of as solid matter. It's really mind blowing when you think about that shit. And then the way the electron is made is that it's mostly just empty space. There's almost nothing there. So everything that it makes up is mostly empty space. So it's really it's really mind-blowing when you dig down into it. So who's to say we're not in some kind of matrix or hologram or something? Yeah, but I do think about that and quite a bit. But again, you go to it and I go down that rabbit hole, and then there's, why? What the I bump up against that question, why? Why does it matter? Why does it matter if all of this solid matter in the universe is real, or it's a hologram, or it's a matrix? It doesn't change anything. That kind of really big question is just too far out there for me to really struggle with and come to terms with in any real way. You know what I mean? So, and then I think of, however the universe was made, however you want to believe it was made by a big bang or a god or a Anunnaki or whatever, they could make it however they wanted, you know? So what if the big bang created a hologram or a matrix, I don't know. So yeah, I think about that kind of stuff. And in the long run, although it's really fun to think about and to try to dissect in my mind, it's in the end, it just doesn't really matter. It's not going to change anything if science comes out and says it's a matrix 100%. I'm gonna, I still got to go to work tomorrow, so it's not going to change a whole lot for me. There could also be that Mandela effect on superhero movies. Yeah, yeah, I guess so. Daniel Looney. Daniel Looney. Never have a fire guard? Uh-uh. I'm not sure what a fire guard is. Yeah, reality is just collapsing fields. That makes sense. That makes sense because everything is just a field. I mean, everything is fields interacting. I mean, your desk top, sitting on top of your desk is just fields interacting with each other. They're really not touching. Your desktop is not is not technically touching the desk beneath it. They're riding on fields. So yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Virtual signaling or virtue signaling. Metal Gear. Yeah. Why? I'm looking at your thing there, Brad. Why? I don't understand it. Oh, okay. All right, Looney. Robert. Hey, good afternoon, Robert. How's it going? Yeah, big country. That's what I'm talking about there. The translation. And even if in translation the loss of meaning and stuff is innocent, it's not meant to be, to harm or to mislead any of that stuff, it's still there. The meaning of why they translated it that way doesn't matter when it gets read generations down the line and the meaning is completely different. So the history is lost in translation as well, not necessarily by bad people, trying to do bad things and mislead, just because some words can't accurately be translated 100%. And when you translate ancient historical texts, it's difficult, and people make mistakes. And even if they're not making mistakes, it's the closest word that they could come to, and it changes the meaning of the text. So, so yeah, that 100%. Oh, it'll result in a black hole. I believe that, Lake. Yeah. Oh, that's good, Robert. Yeah, same here, man. Yeah, as well as can be expected. That's all we can expect, all we can hope for sometimes. Oh, okay. All right, Brad. Okay, I got you. Paste that inside your AI. All right. I was trying to read it as a comment. I was you confused me there for a second. All right, Laura Ann. Glad to see you here. Glad you could make it. Yeah, we're you know us, we're talking conspiracy theories and science, that kind of stuff, whether or not we should be focused on hologram versus matrix. But yeah, I watched the documentary about the guy who was saying it was a hologram and how they found out that they could there's is enough room to write the code for a hologram around the universe like that, that you could do that, or around the planet Earth or whatever. So there is evidence there that it could be a hologram. Everything we experience could be a hologram. But then I think about that, and there's evidence for almost everything. You know what I mean? There's evidence for flat Earth. There's evidence for Bigfoot. There's evidence for ghosts. I mean, the list goes on as far as you want to go with it, and we can find evidence for it. Evidence, not proof, not truth, not hard facts. But that's where I get caught up in. I think about that stuff, and I watch these documentaries like that about holograms and stuff, and then I'm like, "Well, okay, but I really don't know anything that I didn't know before I watched this," except somebody thinks it might be a hologram. That's all I learned. So, I don't know, I get caught up in that kind of stuff. Yeah, Daniel. Yeah, be open-minded, just so not so open-minded that your brain falls out. Exactly. That's what I try to be. I try to be open-minded and consider all the possibilities, which is impossible. I can't consider all the possibilities, but I try to consider all of them that are presented to me, and then I don't know, I just kind of lean one way or the other, and just what makes sense to me in my mind. I try to use the common sense that I have and try to figure things out. And then that's a lot of the reason why I don't trust the government or the institutions, the big businesses and all this stuff. I can't trust them because, the money and power and control is at the bottom of everything they do. So there's no way. They're not out for my best interest. They're not looking out for me. They're trying to rob me, and I know it, you know? And you get a just like that, you get a brand new phone, brand new shiny top of the line phone, and the very next year, before you can even scratch the screen, they're telling you, you need this brand newer, shinier phone. You need to trade that old shit in. That old shit's junk. We got now this new phone does this. So they want you to trade in a perfectly good phone and go in debt to get another one. Do you think they care if you're gonna, pay interest on this new phone and go deeper in debt or whatever, or a new car or whatever the item is? Do you think those businesses actually care if they're putting people in poverty to try to keep up with the Joneses and get the next new shiny thing? No, they don't give a shit. They don't care. Yeah, I mean, I don't all those conspiracy theories, Dead Wolf, they're cool. I get it, man. Going down rabbit holes is fun, checking stuff out and doing stuff. I get it. I don't blame anybody for going down a conspiracy theory rabbit hole. The only ones that bother me at all are the people that absolutely 100% think you're an idiot because you don't think the earth is flat, you know what I mean? And want to insult you and shit. Other than that, I mean, have fun, that's cool, dude. The earth is flat. Yeah, that's great. I mean, have fun with your conspiracy theory. I've got my own that people think are crazy. I'm sure a lot of people think I'm nuts, but yeah, just have fun with it. I just think you should on all the conspiracy theories hold a little in reserve. Maybe I might not be, you know, hitting the target 100%, hitting the bullseye on this one. Maybe I'll just remain a little skeptical on the whole Bigfoot thing. You know what I mean? Or ghosts or whatever your thing is. Just hold back 5% and say, well, maybe I could be wrong, you know? Yeah, Lake. That I've heard that before. I've actually heard that that is how anti-gravity sound and field resonance is how they built the pyramids. Now, of course, we've got all kinds of theories about how they built the pyramids, but I've that was one of them that I heard. Yeah, Dead Wolf. That's me too. Usually, when I buy a phone, I'll buy a refurbished one or a used one or something. I think I just got my first new phone a couple years ago, and I'll probably have it for quite a while, but I got it for a specific reason. Yeah, vintage, exactly. If you live beyond your means, I mean, you can't let all these big companies just take you for a ride, you know? You've got to realize that you don't need the next shiny thing just because somebody else has it or whatever. Um, yeah, planned obsolescence, Mark. Yeah, or Robert. Yeah, that exactly. And it's by design, and they do not care whether whether we go broke, go in debt to get these things. They literally do not care. And then if you think about advertising, and the biggest example I can give is women's makeup products and stuff. Okay, as I started thinking about this when I was a kid and watching my sisters, and if you want to sell a way, but this goes across the board for everything, but this is just the easiest one to explain. If you want to sell a woman makeup, uh, you cannot tell her that she is perfect just the way she is. Oh, you look great. You look fantastic. You're gonna find a good guy just looking just the way you look, and you're just perfect the way you are. But by the way, we've got this stuff, that you can paint on your face. Would you buy it for us, please? Help us out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? No, they cannot do that. They would go out of business. So even subliminally or under the current, they must tell women that they are less than perfect, that they are flawed, that they need help. You need this. You need this mascara. You need this whatever cover up, what's that called? Base or what? I don't know. But you need this lipstick so you can look like her. She's perfect, not you. You're not. You need our help. And, that's how they sell the shit. They don't sell the shit by being honest. Hey, you look great the way you are. You don't need this shit. I'm selling you a crock of shit, but, I want you to buy it anyway. And that's for phones, cars, all that shit. They don't tell us the truth. Hey, your car runs great. You shouldn't buy this damn thing. You know what I'm saying? All these bells and whistles we got on here, they're not going to improve your life any, and the people you think you're impressing are full of shit anyway, and they don't care. They'll try if you do impress anybody, they're going to get jealous and try to stab you in the back and make you look like shit every chance they get. So this car is probably going to hurt you more than it helps you. But they don't say the truth. They don't tell us the truth. They just dig into our pockets and manipulate us with all this shit and try to get us to give them our money. And money is time. They are literally taking our lives, manipulating us into giving them our lives. And until people wake up to that fact, it's just a downward spiral, in my opinion. Yeah, 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 Robert. That's a business model. You damn right. They all do it. Yeah, yeah. Dead Wolf. Their fridges from the 1950s that are still running. Oh yeah, yeah. And the more of the bells and whistles, I like the old crank windows and that kind of stuff, because the more electronic bullshit you put in something, the more there are things that can go wrong. Now, your car can break down now for a reason that didn't even exist in 1980, right? That couldn't have happened because the shit wasn't in the car. They didn't have it. They had just less reasons to break down back then. You know what I mean? So that kind of shit. But yeah, all the bells and whistles just add complication in my opinion. I'm just old fashioned that way. I don't want a car with buttons and shit. I want to feel the thing rolling up. Yeah, all that shit just rubs me the wrong way. Yeah, with the big rocks, something castle. Now you're gonna make me mind blank, Lake. Yeah, but we've got a um a coral castle, I think it's called, or something like that here in Florida. I bet Laura Ann knows what it's called. She can tell us. But yeah, there's a castle. One guy built it, and there's nobody knows how he did it because he did it at night behind bushes and shit or something behind walls. And yeah, yeah, like that's a big mystery because then he died and he never told anyone. Okay, yeah, like Coral Castle. Yep, that's it. Yeah, Dead Wolf. That's just the way to go, in my opinion. You can keep fixing it up, and you know it's if you get a dependable model. Now they made a bunch of cars back then that weren't worth a shit, just like now. But if you get a good one, it'll run forever. Yeah, yeah. Well, my kind of dream goal is to make my own electric car, like convert an old Ford Ranger into electric or something, a little electric pickup, and then I can power it with solar power. I just don't like I don't the Mobil and Exxon and all those are huge corporations that have been stomping out technology that threatened them for decades. I hate them too. I don't want to give them my money. The gas company. I don't want to buy their gasoline. I want to get off that shit. That's just me. I want to unchain myself from the gas pump. Yeah, vintage. Yeah, Coral Castle. Yeah, no one knows how he built that thing. Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, but he did it. I mean, he built that thing by himself, and there were huge chunks of limestone and stuff, I believe, that he shouldn't have been able to move, but he did. Yeah. Yeah, Daniel. Yeah, the more electronic shit's in stuff, the more complex it is to fix it. And now they're putting code in the chips in the newer cars. I know Ford's doing it, or I've heard. I don't know. What I've heard was that Ford was doing it, and they're putting code in the chip so that regular street mechanics, guys want to open up a mechanic shop or whatever, they can't read the diagnostics from the chip. So the customer has to take it to the Ford dealership, right? Now, of course, there'll be hackers making uh, custom diagnostics machines and shit that will probably break that code. But still, that's just some scumbag shit that Ford's doing to cut the throats of all the mechanics across the world, and it's not really going to impact them for a long time. But as the older cars go away and these newer cars take over, one day, I mean, being a mechanic is going to be, a waste of time. There aren't going to be any mechanics, not mechanic shops like we have now. You can go down to the corner. No, you're going to have to take it back to the factory, back to Ford or back to Nissan or whoever you bought the thing from. That kind of technology is going to become ubiquitous, and we're not going to be able to get away from it. Yeah. Yeah, Lorianne. I've got a 99 Chevy van that I drive, and I just love it. It's dependable. It works. So yeah. I mean, I have little problems with it. I got to change a part every now and again, but that's not that big a deal. Oh, okay, Dead Wolf. Yeah. Yeah, that happens a lot. They don't warranty the parts. Yeah. Homestead. Okay, yep. Yeah, Laura Ann Homestead. Oh, all right. No, I've never been there. One of these days, I'm gonna get some time and I'm gonna go there. It's just a fascinating place. I've seen it on, on YouTube videos and stuff, but I've never been there personally. Yeah, Metal Gear. Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't know. I really don't know how long I could be by myself before I started craving human contact. You know, I'm just very at peace by myself. Uh, I don't know. They say that human interaction is a need, a necessity, like water and food and stuff. I don't know. I would like to do an experiment with myself and just wall myself off for a while and see how long it takes me to go crazy. And I just have to, physically talk to another human being. I don't know, but I think I could just live out in the woods in a cabin by myself for a long time. Just explore the woods with my dog or whatever. I'd have to take my wife with me. I would miss my wife, but other than that, just having people around me, I don't necessarily need that. Yeah, that'd be cool, Lake. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, he was a Polish immigrant, wasn't he? Yeah, I think you're right, Lauren. Yeah, Metal Gear, they were. They were, the gas shortages and stuff, and since then, they found these huge, reserves and all this, and that shortages were bullshit. They just didn't have the technology to find the stuff yet, and that whole thing. I've just heard too many stories about how they have suppressed other technologies. I mean, they had electric cars clear back in the 1920s and shit, but the big oil companies just squashed them. People would disappear and stuff. People would file for patents and then, delete themselves the next day. You have a string of those, you start wondering what the hell is up. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of Exxon and Mobil and all that stuff. And then we all remember, wasn't it the Exxon Valdez that dumped how many billion or million gallons of oil into the sea? And what, did anybody go to jail over that? Did anybody get punished for that? But let one of us throw a damn, styrofoam cup out the window in front of a cop. Your ass is grass. Yeah, yeah, dead wolf with communist cars. Yeah. Oh, okay, Lauren. That's cool. I've always been fascinated with uh medieval Europe, their castles and all that stuff. That stuff's always cool. Yeah. Yeah, that is something to think about. Like, is coming up with new technology, just like I said about the oil company, that people get deleted for that shit. So, yeah, be careful with new technologies. Coming up with new stuff that might put the pressure on an already existing company, sometimes may be bad for your health. Maybe that's what do they call it? When I mean, that's a comorbidity. Coming up with new technology is a comorbidity nowadays. Your your ass might come down with something. Yeah. Yeah, nowadays cars, just working on them, they're so jam packed. You open the hood and you can't even see, it's just jam packed with shit in there, right? I remember as a kid, we had a pickup and I could open the hood and crawl in there and stand. Now I was a little kid, about 13 or something, but I could stand on the ground next to the engine between the firewall and the engine. I could do that. There was plenty of room in there. I could see the ground. My dad wasn't mechanically inclined, so I would change the oil and do that kind of stuff. Any kind of maintenance or repairs on the truck, I would have to do myself, even as a young kid. So, so yeah, I remember that stuff. And there was plenty of room when you open the hood. There was plenty of room in there. You could move around and get and reach things. Nowadays, you can't even see you can't even see the part. You gotta take all kinds of stuff off the top just to be able to see the part that you wanna look at. It's crazy. Alone on Netflix? What's that, Brad? Yeah, Netflix and chill, Metal Gear, the new addictive drug. Yeah, you gotta do that, Lake, you're right about that. Be as public as possible with it. But then who was it, Boeing a couple years ago? Those people went public and they still they still, decided to go ahead and maybe see what's what's next, you know, before before they went ahead and spilled the beans. So, yeah, it's a little dodgy. Yeah. Yeah, if you're right, Daniel. Want everyone to know enough. Yeah, talk to your neighbor. I mean, we get that's what this whole thing is about. Gen X thinks, about us sharing ideas and no matter how I don't know what do you want to call it, maybe crazy I sound sometimes when I say some of this stuff on here. Maybe it'll let some of y'all realize that there are other people out there like you. Hey, this guy sounds crazier than me. Maybe I'm not so bad. Or hey, this guy's thinking the same thing I am. Maybe I'm more than by myself. Maybe there is something to this. Maybe, these big corporations don't have our best interests at heart. Maybe our government isn't a big, warm, fluffy teddy bear who just wants to, hug us and kiss us and name us George. Maybe not. Maybe they've got other agendas that have nothing to do with us, and we're just a tool to reach that agenda. Oh, okay. Isolated in nature. Oh shit. Yeah. No, I don't know. There are probably people out there just as bad or worse than me with that. And I can't say that I'd go in there on a show like that and just stomp ass because there are probably weirder people out there than me. So, there was one guy, did you hear about that guy? I think it was Connecticut or something. His car stalled out along the side of the road and he just walked in the woods. Yeah, stayed there for 27 years by just not it didn't speak a word to another human being for 27 years. And finally he got caught breaking into campsites, camping cabins and stuff and stealing shit. And they finally found out who was doing it and they traced him down and caught him out in the woods. Yeah. Guy guy just so that dude would probably win. But so somebody like that would take the top dollar. I'd sit out there for a year for nothing. Yeah, collective Stockholm syndrome, Laic. Yeah. And that's a thing that I think is pervasive throughout our society. That Stockholm syndrome. They actually adore the people who are just screwing them. I mean, screwing them over, raking them over the coals, and they adore them. Yeah, they adore them. Flat out lie. I mean, those politicians and celebrities and stuff will just flat out lie, and it just blows my mind that people buy into that shit. Oh yeah, 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 you know, and don't give a damn about the truth. Don't care that they're being lied to. Look at those cities like Detroit and San Francisco and them, and they keep electing these people and just turning their cities into hellholes. And they keep well, I don't know if they keep reelecting them because I don't know how fair their elections are. I don't know. I know all I know is that the people there are allowing it to be done, allowing, the election fraud or whatever to happen, or they're just flat out voting them back in time and time again and going down the tubes. So that's kind of mind blowing when you look at that. Yeah, a lot of people do Metal Gear. A lot of people do, and it's just wild to watch it. It's crazy. I don't understand. Yeah, yeah, refuse to commute. Yeah, maybe that's what everybody needs. Yeah, I that you hit the nail there, like if that's the beginning. That's the core of it is the taxes. I mean, they when you think about here in the US anyway, our income is taxed before we even see it. I mean, they yank it out of there before we even get our check. Your taxes and stuff are already taken out. You never get to see that money. Then you take that taxed money and you go buy something and they tax it again. Okay. Then they tax your already taxed money. They tax so then and if you save it or invest it, they tax it again. Then if you go and buy a piece of property with it and pay it off, then you just got a lifelong tax there. If you die and your kids inherit it, they tax it then. I mean, every single time money changes hands, they tax it. And it's just insane. I can't believe that it's come to this. I really can't. Yeah. It's I don't know why everybody can't just agree on that. And I can't say that. I'm on YouTube. I'm going too far down that road. So yeah, I'll just leave that one alone. Ezekiel Moore Jr. How's it going, buddy? Glad to see you here, man. We're talking about the evils of taxation right now. But yeah, I'm not gonna suggest anything. I'm just gonna say that taxes are bad. I don't agree with taxes. In any country, anywhere, this country used to this government, not this country, this government used to support itself just by tariffs. There was no income tax for many years, all the way up until 1913, and they decided to tax us. And now everybody's crying over tariffs, and that used to be the way the government operated. And with a tariff, you have a choice. Hey, that thing's too expensive because of that tariff, so I don't want to buy it. I'm going to buy another thing. With income tax, you don't have a choice. It's yanked away from you before you ever see it. That's the thing that bothers me, is that I don't have a choice. They're taking away my free will, my freedom to choose. Yeah. Daniel. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and somebody with skills and, you buy the part and you swap the part and your shit's running like new again. So, yeah, that's the way to go. Buying, dropping 5, 10 grand on a newer vehicle even, that's bullshit, let alone just going into debt for the next 10 years, 5, 10 years for a brand new vehicle. That's I don't know, that's just insane to me. Oh, Aaron's back at it. TuneWorks Anomaly? Mimetic Collective. Ah, all right. Well, all right. I don't know what that any of that means. Unpredictable ascension, cartoonish reality. That's another thing. I got this fancy watch. It's a connects to my phone and stuff because I work with my hands a lot, and I don't, either my hands are dirty, real dirty, or I got my hands full or whatever. So when I'm at work and I got this phone because I can, or this watch because I can answer my phone from my watch. And another reason I do that is because I don't like taking my phone out a lot because I damage it. My phone, I've broken a lot of phones doing that. So I prefer to leave my phone in my vehicle and just, answer my phone with my watch and stuff. So, but this thing has that fitness tracker thing on it built into it. And the damn thing will tell me by 9 o'clock, oh, you've taken 10,000 steps. Congratulations. And that shit makes me mad every day. I'm like, no, I don't want to take 10,000 steps by 9 o'clock in the morning. You piece of shit. Quit telling me. I can't figure out how to turn it off. The damn thing keeps reminding me, oh, you've taken 10,000 steps already today. Like, I don't want to hear that shit. I'm going to take 0 steps. I want to spend a day in the bathroom just going back and forth from the tub to the toilet without taking any steps. Just use my arms. I don't want to take any steps. Then heaven forbid I do get a day off. Then it's reminded me, oh, you need to do something when I've sat on on the chair for a couple hours. Oh, you need to get up and do something. No, I don't. I just walked 400 miles over the last few days. I don't need to do anything today. I need to chill. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Daniel. The media divides us. Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's their main goal. That's not even people believe that the media is to inform us and all this stuff and to tell us the weather or keep us up to date on the current events or whatever. But I don't believe that any of that for a second. The main objective of the media is to divide us, to keep us arguing amongst each other, to keep us hating each other. Because if we ever do have the time to, come together and actually just talk rationally about these topics and to come to some kind of cohesive agreement, then we might look around and say, hey, this government isn't looking out for me and my family. Hey, this corporation shouldn't be doing that, right? Maybe these corporations shouldn't be lobbying these politicians to make these laws. Maybe these huge corporations shouldn't be donating millions of dollars to these campaigns. Maybe this shit shouldn't be legal. Maybe, just maybe. It's something to think about. There's so much shit going on that Hill Bill, Northwest Montana, Hill Bill's representing. We got to hear from Northwest Montana now, or the show ain't even real. We might as well not be on the air without hearing from Northwest Montana. Yeah, that's one place I've always wanted to go and haven't been yet is Montana. I think I'd like to live in Montana. If I had my fondest wish come true would be Montana or Alaska, maybe one of those. Oh, the winters are hard, but hell, you can escape, build you a fire and get warm. You can't do much to get away from the heat in Florida. These damn summers are brutal. Just drink a lot of water and electrolytes. But yeah, and that is the reason, I believe anyway, why the media is like it is. And if you're paying attention to any of that Doge stuff that's going on, they uncovered all kinds of, I don't know how many billions of dollars they've been given to the media. Our taxpayer money been given to the media over the last, I don't know, they've probably been doing that for decades. It hasn't been, it's not like it just started this year. They've been doing that shit for decades. Just probably trillions of our dollars have gone to bullshit like that to confuse and manipulate us. We've been paying for them to confuse and manipulate us. We've been paying for them to send us over, to die in wars and all this shit. I mean, if you think about it, it's really crazy the level of manipulation and the level of subdiversion that's been going on, right? Look this way like a magic trick. Look over here while they're doing this over there. Yeah, and a lot of people are fooled by it. Oh, oh no, yeah, ads. Are you talking about this channel, Brad, or are you talking about on mainstream media? Yeah, the whole thing with the tariffs, Robert, it's just a no-brainer. If everybody else is tariffing the shit out of us, and for us to reciprocate, and then everybody start, everybody, not everybody, but these people in America start throwing a fit because we're reciprocating, we're tariffing them back. It'd be different if no other country had tariffs and the United States was just going to all of a sudden jump up and start tariffing people. That'd be different. But no, we're the only one without tariffs. We're the only one who doesn't tariff other countries. And it's insane. And if tariffs, if the United States tariffing other countries is so bad for the world economy, then that just means that the world has been riding on our tax money. We've been supplying money to the entire world. And to say it's time for that to stop, that should have been said 50, 60, 100 years ago. Yeah. That should have never began. Yeah, like propaganda. Yeah. And that's exactly right. That's why so many people are up in arms about the tariffs and about Tesla and all this stuff, because of the propaganda. Right? And they're just out there telling them, yeah, agenda. They all have agendas. And to find the agenda is to find the truth. Why? Again, the word why. Why are they doing it? What is their agenda? And when I think about that stuff, all these billionaires and why they're striving for more and more and more. Why, if you're worth $200 billion, why are you trying to make more billions? Why? What's the point? What is the point? I don't get it. If and the numbers after, after I don't know how many 100 million, but after a certain 100 million, the number's just meaningless. 1 billion, 50 billion, 80 billion, 220 billion, 400 billion, whatever. It's they're rich, they're ungodly rich. It's just stupid rich. They couldn't piss it away in their whole lives. So why get more? Why keep driving for more? What drives these people to behave this way and to do this shit? That's what really perplexes me. It's almost inhuman, right? It really is, because enough is enough. I don't know. There are people like that though, and it seems like those kind of people rise to the top. The people that are just ultimately greedy, ultimately self-serving, ultimately selfish, they seem to rise. I don't know why. It's a real puzzler though. Oh, okay, Brad. Yeah, mainstream commercials. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Daniel. You want to live in reality or a fantasy world? And that's where I get hung up, because I want to know the truth. I don't care what it is. I don't care. I was having a conversation with a guy the other day, and the difference between being right and being correct. Okay. I don't want to be right all the time. I do not want that, because then that's not going to get me any closer to the truth. I want to learn when I'm wrong so that I am correct. I want to be correct. And I want to know the truth, the real truth, whatever it is, no matter what it is. Whether it's, something going bad in a project, I search for the truth. What is causing this problem so I can fix it? And that boils down to everything in society, in our government. What is causing this problem? We need to know the truth so that we can fix it. if they keep feeding us lies about, the core of the problem, then we can never know how to fix it. We keep just all this big circle jerk of bullshit, and nothing ever gets fixed. And that's exactly why, because they hide the truth from us. And all of them do it, whether corporations, medical field, pharmaceutical industry, all that shit, all of it, government, they hide the truth from us, and just pick our pockets clean. Yeah. Yeah, Laura Ann, it'll never change until people educate themselves. But I think it boils down to that it's just, some of us are just ingrained with that need for truth, whether it's right or not. Some people just want to be right. They don't care, if they can be dead wrong. But if they can argue you down to the point where you'll just give up, then they're right. You know what I mean? They feel right or whatever, but they're incorrect. They're just incorrect. But as long as, the person they're arguing with will admit they're right or just give up, that's fine with them. They're okay with that. Now, some people want to know the truth. They don't give a shit about being right or wrong. They just want to know the truth. And I think a lot of us fit that mold, right? We're searching for the truth. And that's why especially these live streams, are really relatable. They're enjoyable because we're all searching for the truth. We're on the same wavelength, right? We're all on the same page. Even if you're a flat earther, but you're searching for the truth, whether the earth is flat or spherical, you want to know the truth. If you think that, that the Anunnaki are out there and Nibiru and all that, you want to know the truth. You'd be relieved to find out finally, for sure, with solid proof, whether or not the Anunnaki exist. You might be happier a little bit to know, hey, I was right the whole time. But still, you're looking for the truth, not just reinforcement of your beliefs. And that's where I think we differ from a lot of the population, people like us on that page. You know what I'm saying? Envy, yeah. Maybe that's it. And I talked about that before. I think it was on a live stream where some lady was on there and she was saying she dated a billionaire, and she said her boyfriend said that he felt poor when he was around other billionaires with more billions than him. Now, if I don't know if I've ever heard anything more ridiculous come out of somebody's mouth. Billionaire feeling poor. Poor is not a feeling. It's not, you don't get to identify as poor. That dude, I can't say it. I can't say what I'd like to do to that dude. Let's just say that no, I better not say it. Just use your imagination. Yeah, David or Daniel, sorry. Yeah, Daniel, people are scared of change. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yep. And that's a big, and the government and the corporations, all the institutions, they take advantage of that fear. Jeff 7, what's up, buddy? Glad to see you here, man. Yeah, Laic, 36% income tax in Norway. Yeah, it's insane, man. It's completely insane. I mean, you think about this stuff, it's unnecessary. It really is unnecessary. They don't need it. Especially here in America, they're just pissing it away. They don't need 1/10 of the income they take in, they rob from us. They don't need 1/10 of that. And they could easily take that in on tariffs. All right. Yeah, and we've been buffaloed and uh led to believe that it's the American way to pay your taxes. I pay my taxes. I get to, that's how it's been a big thing over here. I pay my taxes. I'm a patriot. I'm an American. I pay my taxes. Like that was a like that's something to celebrate. Like you're a good guy because you pay your taxes, and it's something to look up to. Which I don't know. It's not. It just makes us slaves. I mean, I pay my taxes, but I'm not proud of it. I feel like a fool, to be honest, or a coward because I don't want to end up in prison. So I don't know. It takes a lot of people to change stuff, not just one idiot, refusing to pay his taxes. Yeah, yeah, Laura Ann, I agree. You just gotta, and that's the best we can do a lot of times is just separate ourselves. We could put a wall around us and distance ourselves from all of the insanity, the shallow, ignorant people. Exactly. Yeah, Ezekiel, you got that right. They make up the rules and hold the cards. Yeah. Yeah, Robert. Yeah, the grass is always greener. Walton Goggins. You're gonna have to tell me who that is, Brad. I haven't stumbled across that one yet. Yeah, Metal Gear, FAFO. Yeah. Yeah, Lorianne, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's like a bottomless pit with them. They just it's a never-ending, uh, gluttony for wealth and power, and when you get that, I mean, it just makes sense to me when you get that kind of wealth and you spend time on your yacht and you're doing all that shit, eventually you're gonna get bored and with all the fancy shit, and you know, you're gonna start, well, one of your buddies come to you and say, "Hey, I'm gonna do this thing over here in Panama or Venezuela or something. You want to in on it?" Yeah, hell, why not? You know, start manipulating countries and shit like that, and paying off politicians and whatever your crazy belief is in your head, you're gonna start funding that shit, right? Whatever it is. All cows should be blue for whatever reason Jeff Bezos might think, and because he's got his Blue Origin rockets or whatever. So he starts funding this crazy shit about. He didn't do that. I'm just making shit up, but that's the kind of crazy ideas that these billionaires start funding. Oh, cows shouldn't fart. Trees shouldn't be above ground. This kind of weird shit. I mean, if you think about it logically, it's just insane, but they do it. Yeah, yeah, like that's a popular thing, but it's I mean, both parts of that. If you don't vote, you can't have an opinion, is what Lake put down there. And yeah, that does. I don't. He put it in quotes, so I'm not sure if that's his feeling or if he's making a point in the other direction. But the thing about that is a lot of people feel like their vote doesn't matter anyway. What the hell? We're on a sinking ship. So if everybody votes, to whatever to turn the steering wheel to the right, who gives a shit? It's sinking. So I get that. I completely understand that feeling. So why waste your time? Why you separate yourselves and just don't take part, refuse to take part in the bullshit. I get it. Yeah. I can't really down anybody or disparage anybody for taking that option, that approach. But yeah, but then on the other side of that, there's something to be said for standing up and casting your vote, making your voice heard, try at least trying, going down swinging, right? So yeah, there's arguments for both sides of that. Some people just want to go down swinging. They don't care if the damn boat's sinking or the damn boat is sinking. They're going to do everything they can until their head is underwater, and they'll be holding onto that steering wheel, bearing it to the right as they drown. So yeah, I get it. I get both sides of that argument. Oh, Dead Wolf. I haven't. Oh, okay, Lake. Yeah, we're being told. Yeah. And then still, even with that, I'm I just don't trust I don't trust the powers that be. I don't trust that our elections are fair and legitimate. So hopefully in the United States we've righted that ship somewhat. Um, hopefully, hopefully. Only time will tell. We'll see. Yeah, that's the point, Laic. You can go either way with that. Isn't voting a sign of Stockholm syndrome? Yes. And if you want to look at it that way, yes, it could be. But also it could be that just like I said, you just going to go down swinging. What other if someone gives you a broomstick and they've got a rifle. You know what I mean? Are you just going to drop the broomstick and let him shoot you? Or are you going to swing that broomstick? At least there's a chance. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of mentality. So it's not that the vote is necessarily the greatest weapon in the world, but some people do. Some people will swing. Some people will whatever weapon they have at hand they'll use, and I don't fault them for that. Now the people who are just blindly going along like sheep and voting the way their politicians are telling them to, the way they're being told to, that's a different kind of discussion. That's a different kind of topic. Those people they're retarded. I'm talking about people who are using their clear thinking mind and asking questions and deciding with that knowledge to cast a vote. So that's where I'm at there. Yeah, no good alternative. Here in the United States, we're given two people to choose from, right? And throughout my entire lifetime, I believe, um, hopefully up until now, only time will tell, but they're basically cut from the same cloth. I mean, you're just picking the most likable of the same. They're the same. You don't really have a choice. They're just propping two puppets in front of you, and you pick the puppet that relates to you the most, that you like the best. And and that's just the way I see that. It's a two-party system, and you're given two options, and that's the way it is. If you try to come up through another avenue like RFK Jr. did just now, you just it's just impossible. They won't even let you on the ballot. If you're an actual contender, if you now they'll let you on the ballot if you don't have a snowball's chance in hell. Yeah, fight the powers that be, Robert. Yeah. I haven't heard that song, Dead Wolf. I haven't heard it. I have to check it out. I don't know that I've ever listened to Kanye though. I'll check it out though, Dead Wolf. What's what's the name of it? Put the name of it down there, if you would please. Yeah, Robert. Yeah, some people just feel like that don't go quietly into that good night. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Uh, hit the nail on the head there, Robert. You just grab anything, any weapon at hand, use any tool at hand, you do whatever you have, even if it's a bad one, you know? A sword without a handle, I mean, if that's all you have, you probably cut your hands to ribbons, but if that's all that's available to fight with, some people will grab it and do what they can. You know what I mean? Fight till the last. Some people just have it in them, even though even though they know that it's all rigged and it's all screwed. They can't sit around and do nothing. And then some people believe that just participating is enabling the system, is helping the system. And that's true. So that's where we're at right now. You know, that's where we're at. Yeah. Yeah, Laura Ann. And some people just, yeah, our grandparents instilled that in us. You vote, you know, and some people just vote, not out of any dogged determination to fight, just because that's what they do. And that doesn't just my point is, just because you vote doesn't mean that you're a sheep or something. You can be awake. You can be asking questions, the right questions, and hating the right people and doing the right things and still choose to vote. There ain't nothing wrong with that. Is my point. Sometimes we are we there? Somebody give me a thumbs up, because it just gave me a that squiggly thing whenever I start talking about the wrong shit. I seem to get trouble connecting, even though I have great Wi-Fi connection. So somebody give me a thumbs up. Okay. All right. Thanks, Dead Wolf. Yeah, whenever we go down the wrong avenues of conversation, my for some reason YouTube tells me my connection is sketchy, and I've had to restart the video a couple times. All right. Yeah, it glitched. Okay. I don't know if what is that, you know? Um, is that AI dipping in and, redirecting our traffic somewhere to be recorded somewhere else, or is the FBI listening in, or the CIA or some shit? I don't know, but maybe it's the aliens. I don't know, but yeah, it seems yeah, disturbance in the field, like yeah, yeah. Yeah, Robert, I think so. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any proof, but I think so. It's just kind of coincidental. Yeah, that might be it. Maybe it's just the American infrastructure stinks. But I never the thing is, I never have it in my Saturday morning live streams. It never happens. Yeah, yeah, Hill Bill, I agree. But we're not condoning violence here. We don't threaten anyone. We're all about love and peace. So that's the main thing. That's the main thing we have to get across to everybody. We're we're peaceful. We just like asking questions here and wondering about things. That's all we do. So, but yeah. Um now I forget where I was. Went off on another went off on a YouTube conspiracy theory, why I glitch out sometimes. But yeah, it's just all about control. Yeah, that might be it. That was my first impression, Daniel, because early Saturday morning I don't get those. So I think it might be just bandwidth issue. Of course, um, on our Sunday afternoon or morning live streams, we do tend to talk about a lot of conspiracy theory type of stuff. So if it glitches, we're always talking about conspiracy theory stuff. So that's probably it. Probably is a coincidence. Yeah, that's a good thing about Gen X thinks, though. We can talk about all this kind of cool stuff that we like, and anybody's conspiracy theory is welcome here. Flat Earth, bring it. We like flat earthers here. Lizard people, yep, check. We got lizard people here. What else? Yeah, I get up early so that I can do those shows, Laura Ann. Normally, I that's when I'm recording my videos during the week. Yeah, deleted. That that happens quite a bit. I don't know why. I don't know if it's my subject matter or what. or maybe YouTube just doesn't like my face, but, I've heard that many, many times that YouTube unsubscribing people without their knowledge. So, I know it sucks, but there's nothing I can do about it, you know? I've mentioned it before when somebody tells me that in the comments, but there's nothing really I can do about it. I'd probably have quite a few more subscribers if YouTube would quit doing that. But what am I gonna do? Can't go down there and beat up YouTube, beat up the algorithm, the AI. All right. All right, Lauren. By Sunday night, you're ready, huh? Dead Wolf 13 Den? Deleted. Is that a what is deleted? Is that your username? Honestly, it's a pretty cool username. Deleted. Yeah, I like that. But yeah, and that's all these conspiracy theories and stuff. It's tough to wrap your mind around all this stuff. This everything's so confusing. Just do not be and notice if one is subbed or not. Yeah. Well, the thing with that is a lot of people get unsubscribed from my channel and then they don't realize it. They don't even realize the shit for if they ever do. You know, a lot of people get unsubscribed and then they'll just never see my channel again. Oh, okay. All right, deleted. That's cool. Left arm of Dead Wolf Resistance. That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Glad to see you here. But that's that whole thing there, and that's just a tiny example though, you know, them deleting random people off my thing without their knowledge, off my channel. That's just another example of AI and manipulation, right? Because you know that there isn't somebody working at YouTube there scrolling through, you know, thousands of channels and unsubscribing people from them. That's not what's happening. AI is doing that shit. They're going through and just scrubbing people, you know, and they've got to do it subtly enough that I don't notice. You know, they can't just wipe 1,000 subscribers off of my channel because then I'd notice and I'd raise hell. So they do it, you know, 4 or 5 at a time here and there, and they just scrub people off. And then once in a while, somebody will pop up and say, "Hey, you know, I was unsubscribed," and what am I going to do? So there's no telling how many people have been unsubscribed that way, but that's an insidious way that they're using AI to manipulate us and censor us. Now, if they would just make AI, okay, just make a large language model and let people use it, or tell you, be honest and upfront with you what they're doing, right? Why doesn't YouTube put a disclaimer up here? Why, when you hit subscribe, why doesn't YouTube say, "Hey, we're going to unsubscribe you"? You know what I mean? So you need to check back in a week. They're not going to do that. It's all behind the scenes and in the shadows shit. That's what I'm sick of, because they don't have the cojones, the fortitude to come and tell me to my face, "Hey, we're unsubscribing people from your channel. We're sending your tax money to support transgender comics in Venezuela. We're doing all this shady shit. We're spraying shit in the sky. You know, we're testing all this weird shit in the ocean. We're doing all this stuff." They won't tell us. So we have to try to find out ourselves, and then we're conspiracy theorists. Oh, okay, Daniel. All right, you're talking about the others. Okay. Yeah, we are the resistance. The and that's the thing, is that we don't really go into a lot of stuff. And how am I trying to say this? All we really do on Gen Extincts is ask questions and discuss possibilities, right? And talk about things like that. We're not uh, making plans and doing, doing stuff like that. We're just discussing possibilities and providing things to think about, discussing things, discussing possibilities and stuff like that. And I think that is a very important first step, just to learn to question things, because without that, then you're just going to ignore all the lies and all the manipulation and all that shit. So the very first step is just to open your eyes and ask questions. Why? Why is this? Right? What is the agenda here? What is the motive? Yeah, Jeff 7, I believe it. Yeah, I don't know anywhere near think that I'm alone in this, that, that YouTube is just picking me out of the millions of people posting to YouTube. Yeah, that's anybody talking just common sense. And I don't even like to say, use left and right and Democrat and Republican and all that shit. Just middle of the road common sense shit. I think those are the most dangerous people to the establishment, the people who question and raise up real common sense ideas, not the far right or the far left or any of that shit, just normal people in the middle. Because I think by far we are the most numerous, and by far we are the most level headed and just common sense. And we aren't afraid to use our brain in other ways than consuming their media. Yeah, Lauren, that's a good way to put it. We have a fellowship here, and that's a really good way to put it. Yeah, I like that. And we can relate to each other. No judgment ever. Never have. Well, I mean, I've except towards me in the comments that from outside generations just don't like the stuff I say about Generation X. I mean, that kind of just um, shallow stuff. But in the comments here in our fellowship, no judgment whatsoever. I've tried not to judge even, flat earthers, and I talk about flat earth a lot, but it's just the most popular example in our day and age today, because flat earth is a very popular conspiracy theory. And I don't judge the flat earthers. I just don't happen to buy into that particular conspiracy theory. That's fine. I don't buy into who's the English guy with the lizards. I forget his name now. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember it. Maybe Delete can help me out there. But the English guy with the lizards, I don't buy into his lizard thing. Okay, I just don't. If they're satanic death cult or something, that's a little more possible to me. Sounds a little more common sense to me. But the vampire lizards are a little more difficult for me to swallow, I guess. But if you believe in the vampire lizards, that's good for you. Have fun. I'll talk about the vampire lizards with you. Shit, I will sit down and drink a beer, and me and you can talk about vampire lizards. I don't care. Maybe I'll learn something. I got no judgment toward anyone and any of their conspiracy theories and stuff. I only judge people who try to silence me. That's the only real judgment I have. People who want me to shut up and about my conspiracy theories, because mine are real. Mine are the right ones. LJ, about time you got here, dude. Damn. We've been waiting on LJ this whole time. Ain't all right, Vintage. LJ just showing up. We only got a half hour left. That's all right. Better late than never, LJ. Glad to see you here, buddy. I got to hack on you a little bit for being late. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, Laura. And we get on here and we have camaraderie, and we share our conspiracy theories, and even if we don't share, at least we hear other people talking about them, and then we realize we're not crazy. I'm not all the way off the rails, you know? Laic might be, but I'm not. I gotta pick on Laic. He knows. He knows I pick on him once in a while. Hopefully, he don't get too mad at me. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Robert. Yeah, skepticism is a shared ethic in Gen X. Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, Daniel, I read, Darwin's biography, a biography about Darwin. That was a really interesting book. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we all need to go out and look for the ice wall. All Gen X chip in together and go find the ice wall. Yeah. Yeah, Laura, and that's how I am. Yeah, exactly. Just don't freak out if I don't buy into your particular brand of that, of that conspiracy. All right, Lake. I'm glad you're not mad at me, buddy. Yeah. All right. That's cool. Deleted. We're glad to have you here. David Ike, Lake. It took a Norwegian to help me out with that. Come on. You over there in England, you should have been on that one. All my British people should have been on that one. Yeah, David Icke though, Lake, you're right. It's David Icke with the vampire lizard. And 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 he's got his whole message is just great. I used to watch him a lot. And he might have been I might have stumbled across his video and he's the one that got me kind of interested in that kind of stuff maybe way back. But I kind of drifted away from him a little bit, and even not because of the lizard thing or anything, just because I pretty much heard everything he had to say. He wasn't saying anything new. And so, uh, yeah, I just never really bought into the whole vampire lizard thing. And I know a lot of people probably do because he's a pretty popular guy, but he does have a lot of good common sense stuff in his performance or whatever you want to call it. Not really a performance. His talks, his speeches, more along the lines of George Carlin. You know what I mean? So yeah, I like David Icke. He says a lot of good stuff. He just leaves me behind when he starts tailing off into vampire lizard territory. But yeah. Yeah, vintage. Yeah, David Icke. You go watch one of his videos. It's worth a watch. I mean, he's really good. Says a lot of common sense stuff, and he's really good. But yeah, he thinks that he honestly believes that there are vampire lizards from another dimension, feeding off of like the royalty and the Hillary Clinton and the celebrities and stuff. Yeah, he thinks they're being controlled by interdimensional vampire lizards. I might have not said that 100% accurately, but it's in that ballpark. Yeah, it's vampire lizards, and they're controlling the people in power. Yeah, Daniel. Yeah, people who are slightly off makes the world fun. Yeah. Well, that's one thing about this channel. I think we're all slightly off. Most of us anyway. Yeah, Dead Wolf, that's the same with me. He was one of the first ones I just stumbled across him on YouTube or something, one of his older videos, and he starts out talking about, the same stuff I talk about kind of with the corporate power and the monopolies and how they're controlling us through the media and all this stuff, just they live type of scenario, right? But toward the end of his thing, and he says it, "Now I'm about to lose all of y'all. I'm about to go off the rails." And he starts talking about the lizards toward the end. So yeah, but he's a great guy. I like listening to his talks. I haven't in a while. Just there's so many people like him now. That's kind of picked up. He's an older guy now, and there's so many people who have picked up that torch. Okay. All right, Dead Wolf. That's cool to know. Yeah, we're supposed to be different. That's the thing, and that's the thing that really bothers me with the left is that they preach this whole, live your true self and everybody's unique and different and stuff, but then they hate you if you're not like them. They want to silence you. They want to key your car and bomb your whatever and do whatever. They just want to destroy you if you're not like them, right? And then they want you to live your true self by pretending to be something else. It's the whole thing is backward. That whole woke mindset or whatever, it's completely backwards. They preach love and acceptance and then cancel, censor, destroy. It's crazy. And this is real acceptance. This is real understanding, real open-mindedness. This is what we're doing here. This is what it's like for anybody who's watching this in the future one day. This is real acceptance. We're not judging each other. We're not trying to silence each other, even though we might have different ideas. We accept each other's ideas and we think about them and entertain them. And then we either reject them or accept them into our main viewpoint of the world. We accept them into our ideology, or we reject them, but we do not judge each other for having different ideas. And a lot of that is what is wrong with the world today. That judgment and that rejection of something different. And then the pretending that you're doing the opposite, that you're being open and inclusive when you're being the opposite. Jeff, your train derailed years ago, huh? Yeah. Yeah, vintage. He is Alex Jones-ish. Yeah, where Alex Jones is just off on a satanic death cult, and David Icke is off on vampire lizards. So that's really where they diverge. Yeah, yeah, Daniel. You got to accept reality and all this stuff with feelings, and you just feelings being hurt and the microaggressions and all this shit. It's just insane how people can say that the government isn't really doing any of that stuff, and I can say, oh, that's offensive, or that's a microaggression, just because they're stating what they believe, that kind of shit. And all this weird stuff is becoming, yeah, laic harmony. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, Daniel. Things are true or not, but let's have fun with the here and now. Yeah. And there's no reason to take it so seriously. Who gives a shit whether somebody in Spokane, Washington thinks that I should be gay or straight or whatever. You know what I mean? Who gives a shit? I don't care. Why do all these people around the United States, why do they care what somebody in South Florida thinks of their lifestyle? Who gives a shit? You know what I'm saying? And they they let that bother them. They get offended by that, by somebody saying something on a YouTube channel. Oh, whatever, you can say whatever. You shouldn't wear blue pants, and then somebody wearing blue pants should, in a completely 3,000 miles away in another state, get all offended and upset by that. You're just looking for reasons to be offended, and to be offended is to be unhappy. So you're looking for reasons to be unhappy. Who would do that? What? No sane person would do that. No sane person would look hunt down reasons to be unhappy. I've seen all kinds of shit on YouTube and different social media sites and stuff, and I just flick past it. It's that easy. It's with my thumb. I got a magic thumb. I can just canceled, canceled, you know, just flick right past that shit. I didn't get all butt hurt and, and file a complaint with YouTube and report the channel and all that shit. I don't care. Some idiots on there saying some dumb shit. Idiots been around saying dumb shit probably since we first learned how to speak as a species. People been saying dumb shit. Yeah. I entertained that in my 30s. I really considered sailing, getting a sailboat and just living on a sailboat and sailing around, and stopping at ports and getting a job, working as a handyman for a few weeks and then, resupplying my sailboat and going on around, and just living like that. With GPS and stuff, you can avoid the big storms and all that. You don't, I mean, it's a lot safer now. So, yeah, but that was a fantasy of mine for a long time there when I was younger. Now I just want a cabin in the woods. I'm too old to learn sailing now. Yeah, Daniel, they lied to you. Ninjas in quicksand. Yeah. Yeah, spontaneous combustion didn't really pan out either. That I remember hearing about that when I was a kid. Spontaneous combustion, like people just catch on fire spontaneously, and that used to scare me when I was a little kid, and I realized that shit doesn't happen, like, ever. The shit we're fed when we were kids. Yeah. Yeah, Daniel, Bermuda Triangle, yeah, and that's my mom used to tell me that, yeah, splinter, if I left a splinter in my finger too long, it would turn into a spider. So I had to, so I would let her dig the splinter out. So I grew up, I forget how old I was. I was in mid-teens probably before I realized that it didn't turn into a spider. It just got infected. Yeah, Ezekiel. Yeah, I've always been crazy, but it keeps me from going insane. Yeah, 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 exactly. I think that's where a lot of us are, Ezekiel. You're not alone there, buddy. Yeah, but I like all that stuff. Have y'all seen that what is that called? That contraption they found in some sunken boat, and it's a mechanical device, and I forget the name of it now. As y'all can tell, I don't do a lot of research for this stuff. It's just, I just a flow of consciousness, and sometimes my memory is lacking. But they find technology from back in the past is just unexplainable. It's just crazy shit. It's like, what the hell? And then you hear these stories of Atlantis, and that's kind of cool. I would I'd like to be the one to find Atlantis. No shit, Loran. Burned chunks of fat wrapped in bacon to try to figure out spontaneous human combustion. All right. I personally have never seen anybody spontaneously combust into flames. I've just never seen that. But yeah, I could see where that would be interesting. But yeah, I used to think it when I was a little kid, I thought it was like a common thing, like something you should be aware, you should be afraid of. The shit we're taught as kids or we think as kids, it was just crazy. Looney, is you or is you not bona fide? I'm the paterfamilias. I don't know if that's what you're quoting, but that's hilarious. I love that movie. Yeah, oh, that's it, Jeff 7, Antikythera mechanism. Yeah, you knew what I was talking about. Yeah, Jeff. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about, Antikythera mechanism. Yeah. Yeah, Laura Ann, functionally insane. You or me? Or are you talking about Dead Wolf? Yeah, stop, drop, and roll, Robert. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Dead Wolf. I may be dumb, but I ain't stupid. Mac MC, hello, buddy. How you going? How you doing, man? Take a bite out of crime. Yep. McGruff, the crime dog. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah, Loran. Yeah, we're not just chunks of fat. That doesn't seem like that would pan out, those kind of experiments. Doesn't seem like, trying to figure out you gotta first thing you gotta prove is you gotta figure out that spontaneous combustion is actually a thing before you try to figure out why it's happening. You should figure out if it's happening. Oh yeah, Mac, it's insane, dude. The prices, yeah. And that's just we can go into that shit. That's a whole different subject with the prices and stuff. They raise prices. Yeah, the script running in your head, exactly. Yeah, everything is insane. I keep going back, I buy a lot of materials for work and stuff, and the prices are just jaw-dropping. Uh, go in there, and I used to dip, tobacco, smokeless tobacco, and I quit about a year ago or so, and I use those pouches now, and those are okay, and they're cheap. They're like $1.99 a can. But here recently, last week or so, I went into a store and I saw that a can of smokeless tobacco, the name brand like Copenhagen or whatever, was 13.99 a can. I just could not believe it. I mean, I don't that's the main reason I quit because it was getting too expensive, but holy shit, that's insane. The prices are getting just ridiculous. And it's not because the prices of tobacco have gone up and all that stuff, you know what I mean? They're just jacking the prices up. That's it. Tobacco farmers aren't getting rich. They're just jacking the prices up on us. And all that stuff, I keep saying it over and over again. That shit is by design. All of that, all of the economy, the stock market, and all that shit, it's manipulated. They're doing it to us on purpose. There's no economic downfall without somebody's hand on the lever pulling that son of a bitch. They are doing it to us. Inflation is bullshit. That's my belief. I firmly believe it. Inflation is bullshit. That's another lie. Just like the stock market is bullshit. Don't get me wrong. You can make money in the stock market. I'm not saying you can't, but you can make money in a lot of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you can't make money from it. People make money from all kind of dumb shit, but it's a tool of manipulation. Like 90 something percent of the stocks owned in the stock market are owned by just huge corporations. They're not owned by us. We're not manipulating companies. We're not, going in there and manipulating companies by buying up their stock or disassembling companies, buying up their stock and just disassembling the company, or buying up a company through the stock market just to control it, just to own it, hostile takeovers and shit. We're not doing that. These companies are, and they manipulate. They can dump all that stock and crash us anytime they want, and there still be billionaires when it's over. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, taxes. Yeah, socialism is expensive. Exactly. Yeah, that shit. I just anything that is not freedom, I almost always disagree with. Yeah. Our gas prices are finally going down a little bit, Daniel. That's one good thing. They haven't gone down much here where I'm at, but they've gone down a little, which I'm happy for. Yeah, vintage. That's yeah, raising quail and stuff like that, chickens, quail, uh, stuff yourself. That's just a good idea in my opinion. You can't go wrong. Yeah. Yeah, there's no way, Loran, you could, and that's why these kids aren't doing it anymore. And why all these and it's just when I think about the situation for the young people today trying to buy a house and make a family and start up a family and stuff, you know what I mean? And they have these young people's minds all twisted up anyway. And just seeing this stuff that these young women post it's insane. It's literally insane. And these women end up with 3 kids by the time they're 21, and then they turn to OnlyFans because they got 3 deadbeat dads and all this shit. It, that's just not good. And you can't do it on your own anymore. You can't hardly do it with 2 people, raise a decent family anymore, not with these prices. And it's done on purpose. I'm telling you. I firmly believe it. It's done on purpose to break up families for that very reason. Yeah, Laura Ann's got 5 level-headed boys. That's good to hear too. Oh, yeah, Daniel, that you're right. Yeah, that's taxes. They're just taxing that shit. Yeah, there's no telling what, you know. But when they start raising prices for that inflation and shit, the the materials don't cost them that much more. Okay? It's not costing them more. It's not like, a bunch of people stood up and doubled the prices of their labor. Inflation goes up, almost every time inflation goes up, so does the profits for these companies, and that's easy. You can look that up. Record-breaking profits over the last 5 years for these companies. So, that just begs a question in my mind. How can companies make more money if the materials for their products are costing more? It doesn't make sense. If they have to raise the prices because it costs them more to create this product, then how can they make record profits? Okay. The only thing that makes sense is that it didn't cost them any more to make the product. They just jacked up the prices because they could. And what about these movies and shit? Okay? They've got movies and software just sitting on a server. No one's got to, make the movie and recode the movie and all this shit, constantly update the movie. It's just sitting on a server. And you download it. You download a copy of it to your computer. Now, why did the price of that movie go up? Can anybody explain that to me? I remember when Google Play first came out and they were doing movies and stuff, I could get movies on sale on Google Play all the time for $1.99, $3.99. I'd get them all the time. Now you got to rent a movie on Google Play for $20, and after it comes out, you can buy it for $20 too, and it'll go down to 15, and then maybe it might go on sale for $10 if it's just a junk ass movie. But the prices of these movies are going up on Google Play and all these other platforms, and it doesn't cost them any more to supply these movies. They download them to a server. Yeah. Yeah, before the people wake up, the underlying problem is the same. Yeah, Daniel. Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing that uh the reset, you know. We talk about that. We hear that talked about and stuff. And they even they wrote a book. What's his name? Of course, it's going to escape me, but that douchebag from the WEF wrote that book about the Great Reset and all that shit. And so they're shooting for this new world order and this global government and this Great Reset and all this shit, right? And what are they? What is the reset? Is the reset some kind of collapse? You know what I mean? That's kind of where my mind has been going lately. Like they are striving for a collapse. That is the whole point. That's the why. They're striving for a collapse. They want to collapse it. But then they have all these strong countries in Western civilization who were founded with individual liberty and stuff in mind, because that's just the bedrock of Western civilization is individual liberty. We're not drones, not in Australia, not in Britain, not in Canada, not in Germany. Well, all of us are individuals and we identify with our country and we're patriots and stuff, but we're individuals. And that is a hard thing for them to overcome. So that's why it's taken decades for this reset to happen, right? Because they've got to overcome all of that in an entire Western civilization. So I believe that that's what they've been fighting against is our notion of individual liberty and freedom. We're just not automatically sheep or drones. Now we are becoming that in the last couple generations. We are quickly becoming that, but we haven't been. Now that they have the technology to instill that through the media and the schools and shit, they are doing it. I'm glad you had a good Mother's Day, Loran. Crypto Billy, glad to see you here, man. You're a robot, dude? Oh, shit. I was hoping you weren't crypto. I was hoping you were a real dude, man. Yeah, but we got a lot to think about in that, in the why of things. And like I said earlier, the why in one aspect of it, the why is meaningless. The fact that they're doing it, the fact that something is done is the only thing that matters in the here and now. But the why of it has greater implications. The why of it is leads to bigger questions, right? And what's the bigger scheme of things? Hastings, huh? Vintage, yeah. Yeah, Laura. But yeah, the why, and that's the one I get hung up on is the why, you know? 'Cause it's easy to look and see, the stripes in the sky. They're definitely putting something up there, right? Because I don't remember that shit. I don't remember clouds streaked across the sky looking like making the sky look like a checkerboard back in the 80s and the 90s. I don't remember that stuff happening back then, but now it's happening. So I know it's happening. That's the what, right? The who, you have your questions, what, who, when, where, and all that shit. I can answer almost all those questions. But then the why of it is what gets me. The why of it is uh what I think about. And I watched that documentary that Vintage suggested is the dimming, and it explained the why they're dimming the sun and trying to cool off the planet. And now they're saying that scientists are saying, number one, the Antarctica is just exploded with a bunch of ice, not exploded, but it grew a lot. over the last year with a bunch of ice. So that's reversing. It's not shrinking anymore. It's getting bigger. It's freezing again. And they say that there was a study that said that we're speeding up the coming ice age that's supposed to not happen for 11,000 more years, but now it looks like it might happen sooner. So these idiots might be causing a new ice age. Yeah. Yeah, but Bill Gates is doing all kinds of crazy shit that I and he's one of the craziest bitches I've ever seen on TV, and he'll just say just ridiculous, outlandish shit out loud. Yeah. And the last time I quoted him, hell, the YouTube wouldn't even play my video. Completely banned my video. And I just quoted Bill Gates. I just said what he said. And I said I quoted him, but just quoting that crazy son of a bitch will get you banned on YouTube. Dude, that shit's insane. Yeah, that dude's something special. Yeah, I wouldn't let that dude on my property to wash my van. Yeah, that's another thing, Daniel, that whole victim thing, that victim mentality, that victim thing. It's like being a victim is celebrated, right? Oh, I'm a victim. And then, you get to be, you're special. And that's a whole different thing. Where everybody wants to be in a different group, marginalized, right? Victims are marginalized, and the trans people are marginalized group, furries are a marginalized group, all these different marginalized groups, right? That they can put themselves in and claim victimhood or furriness or whatever. So that's yeah. Yeah. Polar bears to Antarctica. Yeah, that's another thing I heard, vintage, was that the solar panels they're just producing less power, like, dropped like 30% because of that shit they're doing. Now, of course, that's supposing that that's the reason because they're putting that shit in the sky, but, it's supposed to be a fact that the solar output has been reduced by a significant amount. Yeah, extinction of the penguins. Yeah, I saw a polar bear fighting a walrus. He didn't get to eat that walrus though. The walrus almost ate him. Yeah, polar bears are cool animals though. Bears are cool animals anyway. I always like the Wolverine's always kind of been my favorite animal. I saw this one documentary where a wolverine jumped into a wolf pack that was feeding on a downed caribou or something, and it was caught on like a trail cam, and all you saw was white wolf fur flying in every direction, and the wolverine was just tearing that ass up, and the wolves scattered. Yeah. I bought a snow cone in hell, huh, Ezekiel? That would be kick ass. Yeah. All right, everybody, it's that time. I got to shut her down for the night. So thank you, Daniel, Laic, Ezekiel, Crypto Billy, Vintage, Laura Ann. Who else we got here? Mac MC, Robert Mark Heemstra, Jeff Seven, LJ, Deleted, Dead Wolf Resistance, Hill Bill. I'm probably not going to get everybody, but hopefully I'll get most of y'all. Big Country. I just like to say thanks to all of y'all. I really, really appreciate y'all showing up. Brad Harris. Can't forget my boy Brad. Did I say Laic already? All right. So I think I got everybody. So I'll leave you there with that. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one. Yeah.